Snowy Splendor, Book 1, Needle and Fly, Short Story 8, written by Naseem Achakzai. The weather was much too hot. No one could stay outside the door in daytime. There was a small pond in the area that could feed the whole village with animals and birds. There was nothing else in the surroundings but a vast desert. Sterility had spread out in 100 miles of an area, everywhere as far as the eyes could reach to see. The only living and moving objects in the area were the flies. These flies would make a strange kind of noise. That noise was terrible. They would move in the neighborhood to find out food. They would crowd even on the bodies of animals and insects who would die of hunger, thirst, or diseases. In the night, the flies would try to enter through the hole of the windows and ventilators of small muddy houses of the village. If they would find the door of a kitchen or a room open, they would feel happy to spend a night peacefully. They were all vagabonds. One of the flies had found a secret hole that would give entry to stir inside easily into an empty carpenter's room. This room was used as a storeroom of the house. This fly was called Much. This Much was famous of its sharpness and stinginess. It always felt proud of its intelligence. It felt being the master of smartness to survive on someone else's food. The place this fly had found in the storeroom was a strange place. Many old tools were lying or hanging down all around that storeroom. One of the objects was an old needle. That needle was hanging down with a piece of thread. This needle with a thread was lying down in the darkened corner of the store. The fly, before dawn, would directly come and sit on the surface of the needle. The needle did not like it. It hated the fly, but it could do nothing. The needle was helpless. It had no power to avoid the shrewdness and cunningness of the fly. In Needle's opinion, the fly was extremely stubborn. If the needle now and then moved with the help of a small and soft wave of the wind, then the fly would just directly fly back. It would again sit on the surface of the needle. It always covered Needle's surface. That was terrible. The needle had nothing but possessed its surface only. The feeling of its surface was the only assets the needle had. Would you please tell me the trick or an intelligent way to get rid of this shrewd and cunning fly? Asked the needle from its thread. The thread remained in a deep thought. It had a silence like a valuable gift. It seemed as though the thread did not want to give any response. Hey, look, now you and me are both useless. We are both thrown in garbage. Try to live in silence. The rest of this life is without any usage. We have got no activity. Why do you destroy yourself? Don't disturb yourself. We should live in peace in our last days, said the thread after a short while. But I cannot live with this dirty fly. I want to get rid of it. The rest is okay. I'm happy with the rest of my life, explained the needle in an irritating way. When the silence became extremely heavy, then the needle said again in a sort of request, "Help me, my friend, my companion, please help me. We have to share our miseries. You and me, we are both together the whole life. In the end, we got this problem. Can't we find a solution? Can't we get rid of it? Can't we find a way out?" said the needle. The thread had no answer. It had to remain drowned in silence. That silence was the sign of no answer at all. Look at me. Now my body is getting dirty. I don't like this dirt. Dirt is becoming part of me. I cannot submit my body to it. My body aches. My body rejects it. I'm not used to it. My body cries to throw it away. It's all just because of this dirty fly. Much, cried the needle again. The thread had no word. Its old body had also weakened. Its body had become rotten. Its body could have been broken any time with small and soft jerks in many pieces. In the meantime, the fly flew over them. It sat down on needle. This was the selected place it liked very much. The fly had a sign of relaxation. It just closed its eyes to get a nice rest with sweet dreams. Hey, you piece of dirt, get out of my body, threatened the needle. The fly looked in all corners. At that moment, the fly recognized Needle's voice. Did you address me? The fly opened its eyes. It asked surprisingly, looking at the needle. Yes, I called you, answered the needle. Did you call me a piece of dirt? Inquired the fly. Yes, I called you a piece of dirt. You are a piece of dirt. It is me. It is my body. Get out of my body. You have no right to occupy my body without my permission, answered the needle with a great courage and anger. Oh, what a piece of work you are, you useless and old needle. You have got a tongue too, yeah? How could you make these words against me? You are not needed anymore in this as usual life. This is why you are thrown away here in this garbage. I work hard all day. I am not as idle as you are. You dirty and old piece of needle. You are an idle needle. You don't have to work anymore, reacted the fly mockingly. Listen, the way I worked in my life you cannot imagine about. I've been positive. I've been creative. I serve life with all my capacity. I do not live on others' flesh and food as you live on, said the needle scornfully. What have you done, my dear needle? Tell me, please. What are the greatest accomplishments and performances of your life? What are the jobs you are proud of? Inquired the fly sarcastically. I've been sewing cloth. I've been a healing force to sew big cuts and wounds, replied the needle proudly. Come on, my dear. Do you call it a work? Was it your creation? In my opinion, you have been used as a tool. You have been putting more wounds on the surface of the soft silk. You have been putting more wounds on the surface of each and every cut and wounds of human beings and animals, said the fly, giving an abrupt answer to put out the drawbacks of the needle's performance in life. The fly tried to turn all positive activities of the needle into negative actions of life. I have to teach you that those small wounds or holes, whatever you call them, were part of the healing process. It gave opportunity to the thread to be passed on to create flowers, leaves on the surface of the cloth. Those holes were for stitches that became a healing force to the human and animal bodies, that would soothe their wounds and cuts. It was part of love. Love teaches, it stitches. It was all an act of beauty and healing, answered the needle. Wow, what an act of beauty and healing. Why did you get filth of rust on your body if you were that much useful and creative? Is it the reward of being useful? Is it the gift of being active in creating beauty? Was it part of love? Asked the fly with a smile that was like a cup of poison. Well, it's just because of your filthy self. It is the dirt and filth of your body. You throw it on me every night. If you keep your horrible self away from me, I shall certainly be preserved in a state of pure and clean body for many centuries, answered the needle. The needle was nearly to cry. Ah, ha, 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 laughed the fly, moving its mouth on its active wings. It's called vain imagination. Now your body is diseased with rust. No one can stop it. Be quiet. Tolerate me and my body. accept my filth as a gift. This is your destiny. Accept it. Accept it as it is. I know what you have done for the life of human being. You put more small wounds on their bodies. If I tell them and if they understand this point, they will throw you away in a desert or in a dirty pond, said the fly. Small wounds are the remedy of large cuts. I'm part of the remedy you will never ever understand. I'm proud of me, what I have been in my life. I was one of the tools to bring objects together, to bring two sides of the cuts together. I was part of the similarity. Similarity brings objects nearer. Similarity makes a group in an important part of a society, said the needle. Well, if you call yourself part of the remedy, then why do you become helpless? Why can't you keep yourself away from me? Why can't you throw me out? Why can't you stop this inevitable rust that eats your body like a deadly disease? Said the fly. The old needle was going to answer, but suddenly the window of the storeroom was opened with a big bang. There was a violent wave of the dust that was crossing the area. Its force had moved the weakened thread and it broke down. Things change. Changes indicate. Moments change either. Even events change. Circumstances change, and change occurs. When it occurs, it always brings new situations. Each situation sheds its good or bad results. And when situation changes, it becomes good or for one and bad for others. One continues thinking on and on to become part of it, to adjust itself, to accept the mechanism that changes, and everything in the meantime strikes different. The mechanism of difference starts playing its creative role. In the very beginning, when change strikes, everything turns into unknown objects. There seems no contact, no facility, no response. The whole atmosphere turns into a complete darkness. It was totally dark everywhere. The fly could not see what had happened within no time. It was all darkness. It seemed as though many changes take place in complete darkness. These changes are born in the way not to be seen. This is why they could not see that the old needle with fly came down. Both of them fell into a bowl of a coconut oil. The needle and the fly both were drowned into that oil. The needle went completely down to the bottom of the coconut oil. It touched the bottom of the bowl, but the fly was tragically caught up on the oily surface of the bowl. The oil did not let the fly to move. It could not fly again. The fly was stuck up in the coconut oil. Early in the morning, when the sun shone, subsequently the broken thread saw that the old needle was lying down in the bottom of the bowl. The oil had removed its rust completely away. The needle had turned into a new, shining and clean needle. The zinc had totally been removed from needle's body. The needle was shining in the rays of the sun again. But the stubborn and dirty fly had become helpless. It had been imprisoned on the surface of oil forever. The fly had turned into a stuck-up position. It had become still and stagnant object, which always, like a silent and an immovable dead object, always tells its own story. This is why it is said that even each still, stuck-up and dead object also contains the lines of its own story, which just needs an art to be told in.